Hi, today's topic is what's the difference between code and data? And when we say code, we mean executable code in this context. And you'll find a link to what executable code is in the description below. I did a video on that a while. Please watch that. So what we mean here is, well, data generally is things that we want to be processing, things that we want to be acting on, and which is not executable. But that kind of begs the question, what is executable? What do we decide should be executable code? And the answer to that is, well, what we decide should be executable code. So when we have some data, we say, well, this is executable and this should be used in a particular way and this is not. And that's not always a clear distinction. Even before we get into complex systems like when is an AI model, for instance, a Gen AI model, is that code or is it data or is it a combination of the two? Even before we think about that, you can think about, you might have some data which is something you're going to compile. It starts off as source code and it becomes something that becomes executable code. Or it might be something that you gain inputs from a number of places and you make code from it, even if it's not in a compiled form. And then there's the question, of course, of when not all code is compiled code. Some is done in different ways. Things like Python, for instance, is generally non-compiled, whereas things like Java typically is compiled, or C or C++. And so the distinction between compiled and non-compiled, or executable code and executable data is quite a complex one. And when we have difficulties like this, there's always a danger that someone's going to misuse that and is going to find a vulnerability and attack us with that. So when we say someone is going to put some data into our system and we will process it, what we mean is that we don't want that generally to be executable. But there are ways in which someone can slip things into our system which look like data, maybe using something like a SQL or SQL injection attack. I'll do another video on that another time, where they can slip things in which shouldn't be executable but which end up being executed. So there are a number of attempts to try and control that using various different systems. So for instance, Linux flags whether particular memory pages may be executable or not. Not all of which these attempts to keep things safe are always successful. So it's a very important thing to think about when you're looking at cybersecurity as to when do you want to be absolutely clear that something is only ever data, and how can you be absolutely as sure as you possibly can that there's no way for someone to subvert what you're doing and somehow execute data that gets onto the system in ways that you don't want. Because when that happens, you're going to get system behaviors that are not what you want, and you have just lost control of your system possibly. I hope that's useful. If you've got questions about this or any other topic to do with cybersecurity, please subscribe to the channel. Send me a comment. I'll do what I can to explain.